Hey folks, my name is Chris at HouseIt, based here in Miami, Florida. Today we're going to talk about a question that is on everyone's minds, everyone that is looking to buy a condo in Miami, that is. And that is, how can I reduce my buyer closing costs in Miami? Well, we're going to talk about a few different options, and I promise you we're not going to just toot our own horn and talk about our pretty amazing HouseIt buyer closing credit program. The first one we're going to talk about is to get a credit from the seller. The first step in terms of getting a credit from the seller, well, it's pretty common, as you know, during the inspection period, even for condos here in Miami, for the buyer to do a home inspection. In this market, sellers expect the buyer to do a home inspection versus in New York. Honestly, for condos and co-ops, a lot of the time the buyers don't bother getting a home inspection or the sellers don't expect it, especially in larger units, where there's a lot of, the boilers and all of these things are the building's responsibility. And there's not really too much that the individual condo or co-op owner is responsible for, which is really just the interior. So in New York, it's a little bit different, but again, here in Miami, it's pretty customary for any condo buyer to do a home inspection. And of course, if you're buying a freestanding property like a house, then a home inspection is absolutely recommended. So where were we? So after you do the inspection, it's quite customary during this inspection period, which is, as we've talked about previously, typically 10 or 15 days, for the inspector to come back with a laundry list of items. Again, you're paying them several $100s to do an inspection. They like to, even if the apartment is pristine, they like to give the appearance of doing their job. So they'll often come back with a laundry list of items that could be tweaked or might seem off or broken or whatnot. And, to be fair, some of these things you might not have noticed yourself from your own visual inspection. So, then at this point, it depends on you on how you want to play it. It depends on the competitive dynamic. If you think there's other bidders that the seller could easily just go to and wave you goodbye. Really depends on a lot of factors, but oftentimes buyers will have one or two things that the inspector found that they didn't know about, and they'll ask the seller for a credit or to fix them. And because sellers are usually not general contractors or engineers, the often easiest solution, and this goes for all markets, including New York and Florida, the easiest solution is for the parties to negotiate a credit, a monetary credit from the seller to the buyer at closing. So, say you come back with a report and, this toilet, this part is broken and there's a chip there I didn't know about or whatnot, and it's like $10,000. And, instead of the seller fixing it, they give you $10,000 of a credit. And you'll see that in either the closing statement or the, closing disclosure if you're getting a mortgage. You'll see that that $10,000 reflected. And if you don't immediately understand how it's being reflected, check out one of our videos about the closing disclosure, because it can be nuanced on how they place the credits. Or feel free to give us a ring, team@housit.com, or sorry, email us at team@housit.com. We can look into it for you as well, possibly, or refer you to an attorney who can help you for a fee. So it's essentially, yes, that is a very common way, and the first common way of getting a credit to reduce your buyer closing costs. Now, the second method is a bit more convoluted. It's getting a credit against your closing costs from the lender. Now, this is actually quite opaque, because we ourselves, being in the business, have never really gotten too much of a clear answer for sometimes why you might see a lender credit on this line item or that line item of a closing disclosure. But sometimes lenders will certainly just have certain credits that are very hard to explain. Sometimes they are easier to explain. For example, if you get what's called relationship pricing. So usually, certain banks will want to incentivize you to have deposits or assets with them, and you put a certain amount of deposits or assets with them. Maybe they'll reduce your interest rate by, 0.5% or X%, or give you some other form of credit. So, that one can be a bit more explained. But regardless, that is another way to get a credit, and this time from the lender. Oh, one last thing to point out. Sometimes, depending on whether you're eligible, there are certain first-time home buyer programs. Certain banks will have monetary credit for first-time home buyers and such, which you may be eligible for. So that could be another way to get a closing credit or credit against your closing costs as a buyer here in Miami or really anywhere. And of course, the third way is our personal favorite, and we hope this is interesting to you as well. It's getting a closing credit or a reduction in your closing costs through a buyer closing credit through HouseIt. And how that works is when your buyer's agent works for you, and typically you'll have quite a few real estate agent friends who offer to be your buyer's agent to guide you for quote unquote free. Technically, they are right. It is free because the real estate agent commission, which is split between the listing agent and the buyer's agent, is a seller closing costs. So when you take a look at the closing disclosure, you'll see that the entire broker commission, which again is split 50-50, is on the seller's column. So it's paid by the seller, technically not you, so technically it is free. However, in Florida, New York, and about 40 states in this great country, it is completely legal to get a commission rebate. So essentially, your buyer's agent is able to give you part of the his or her commission that they earn as an incentive for you to work with them, which is exactly what this is. So we actually offer you 2/3 of the buyer agent commission that we earn, and we provide it to you, subject to us keeping a minimum of 1% or $7,500, whichever is greater. Some of our customers prefer to take the rebate as a check post-closing. So after our check clears, we will mail them a check, or sometimes they prefer to speak with the lawyers and have that credit reflected against their closing costs to directly reduce their closing costs. And it's just a flow of funds issue that the closing attorney can sort out. And again, we've mentioned this before, this can be quite significant because, while the typical buyer agent commission is 3%, so 2/3 is 2%, in Miami, some of these buildings here offer quite a bit more than that, especially new construction. So for example, the Missoni buyout, which should be completed sometime this year, new construction building in Edgewater, beautiful building. They offer 7%, last we've heard, in buyer commission or buyer agent commission. So 2/3 of that, substantially more, and that'll pretty much cover your closing costs and then some. So anyway, we hope you found this video helpful. If you're interested in any of these topics or services, leave us a comment below. You can go to our website, www.houseit.com. That's HAUSEIT.com to learn more, to sign up, to speak with one of our agents, either here or in New York. So in New York, we cover New York City, all of Long Island, the Hudson Valley. In Southeast Florida, we cover Miami-Dade County, where we're headquartered, Palm Beach County, Broward County, St. Lucie, and Martin counties. We can help you save up to 6% with a agent-assisted FSBO, or if you want some more help, we have a 1% for full service listing option. And of course, when you buy, we have that HouseIt buyer closing credit program that we just talked about. We hope you will consider it, and we hope it makes sense. If you have any questions, don't hesitate to give us a ring or call. And my name is Chris at HouseIt, and we'll see you on the next one.